We all good there?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what we've done is we've created this shape and we've said loft it from here to here and we've given it one guide curve. That's where you see how this surface comes down, and at this point, it's really nice. And that's partly because what we've done is we've given it information for there. As it comes all the way around, it doesn't know what it's to do. So it just does whatever it thinks it can.
Right. I tried to do almost like section, um, like lines or
Yep,
profiles, but it wouldn't loft when I used those.
that's fine. That's fine. Now, as I look
And
at
then
this,
that, yeah.
you've got a tight corner here. Is that by design intent?
Well, it was in the sketch, but no, it shouldn't necessarily be there. So that makes sense if that's an issue.
Yeah. So right off the bat, what we can do, and I'm just going to adjust a few things here. So, and we'll see what happens. It may not be perfect, but you can see by adjusting that corner, what that's going to do is, it was such a tight corner, it's going to create a crease. Now, I don't know,
Right.
is
That makes sense.
should this opening be mirrored? And when I say that, should this be the center of the opening? And if this is the center of the
Can
opening,
you zoom out?
oops, if this is the center of the opening, should this side be the same as this side? That's a question. If that's the case,
Um,
oh, go ahead.
yeah. Okay.
Because it almost looks symmetrical, but not.
That
You know what
makes
I mean?
sense. You said it almost looks what?
It almost looks like it's supposed to be
Can you?
symmetrical.
Oh yes, yes it is.
Okay, so what you should have done is, so you saw, if it's supposed to be symmetrical, what I did is I drew a line, and we'll call this the center, and I've moved this over here now. Now, in theory, what would have been best for you was to just draw one half of it and mirror it over. That's why we saw it looked good here because you got that rounded corner, but over here you had that sharp line, so I rounded that out. So we'll just go with that for now, and we'll take a look at what that does. And you can kind of see that all of a sudden starts fixing a few things. Okay, it gets a little bit better there. Still a little bit of a tight crease there. Now, why it's doing this down in here, I'm not sure. But what we've got is we've got the sole coming down to that point there. One of the things that we can do is if we go edit the loft, and again, you had the loft going from there down to this edge here. What we want to do is come there, and we're going to do a constraint. And we're going to say make it tangent to surface. So it's going to pop. Oh. Hold on a second here. Let me just try something here. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to have it go to this edge. There we go. Oh, okay, so I see part of what you did. Part of what you did is you had it going to that top surface. Now that's still not going to correct what we want. So let's try this again. Basically, I want it to come down and connect with this face. We're going to delete that face, and we're going to say connect to this face. So I got that going there. Come on. Okay, so I'm going to try something different here. Yeah, well, they're not gonna. So I think what we need to do, I'm gonna exit out of that. We'll come back to here. And I'm gonna draw a quick sketch. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a spline. I'll snap it to this edge here. Have it come up to this back piece here. And again, I'm just going to rough this in. Okay. So basically what's happening is that we don't have enough control. So where you saw the nice control coming over the front, we're missing it on the back and the sides. So if I come in and I just go insert reference geometry, we're going to insert a plane, and we're going to do it to that point there.
1 second, can I just go to a different area? The Wi-Fi is terrible in this Fire Studios.
You go there, I'll still be doing this, okay?
1 second.
Yep. Okay, you back to sharp?
Yes.
Okay. So, like I was saying, we don't have enough control over the surfaces. So in the front, it does exactly what you want, or pretty much, because you've got that control spline. It's not doing what we want in the back because we're just allowing it to go straight from here down to here. So here, I'm going to put in a control spline. By doing that, we'll exit out of this, and I had to roll back before the loft. So I'm going to roll forward now, and we see what we've got going on back here that we don't like. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to add in an additional guide curve that I created. So I'll do that, and now you can see we're kind of getting the back end to be what we want. Let me hide everything. So now you can see we got the back end fixed.
Right. I'm not sure what I didn't do before. Maybe it was some of the other lines that were messing up, because I couldn't get any other lines to loft except for the
That's
two
not
that I
good.
have.
Okay,
Yeah, except
so depending on what you were doing, so let's go back here a step. So a couple things that I had to make sure when I did this sketch, let's turn that off, was I had to build a new plane that was going to make sure that it snapped to this curve somewhere.
right.
So what I did is created that, so now I've got that there. What I also had to do then was make sure that this curve at the bottom snapped to this edge.
Are you using Pierce?
Yes, I used Pierce for that one. So if I come back and I go edit sketch, for this one, I could snap because there's a dot.
Right.
For this, since it's a surface edge, I needed to use Pierce. Does that make sense?
Yes. So at the top, okay.
So let's move forward a little bit,
Right, right.
and we'll see how that fixes things. Because
It doesn't break.
well, that's how much of a change did we make?
Right.
Now, what we have going for us is we still have that same surface. So everything referenced that surface. If I made a different surface or a new surface, we would have some more concerns. You know, all I did was modify the surface a little bit. I'm still a little concerned about this tight corner going out to there. So that's something where, and maybe that's the look you want. That could be a design choice. I don't know. So let's turn this off and then let's just kind of see what happens. Ooh. Yeah. So it doesn't like that. It's not going to like any of that. Yeah. So
Honestly, I do feel like I can redo all of that
yeah.
because I know what I'm doing now.
Yep.
But the initial surfacing was wrong. So like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
So that's a key lesson to learn. If that initial form, so and it may be easy because look, we're just going to sit here and we're going to say this face. Now we can see. So there, everything is in there. But what we can see is you may just need to. You don't necessarily have to go back through and redo everything, but well, we just got to get that past there. You just got to make sure everything goes past. So now, all of a sudden, there all is. Oh, that's almost the same thing. Yeah, so what you need to just go through and modify that, and really the main thing is it's missing the surface. You know?
Okay, so do you see that line to the left, that one right there?
Yep.
So you said everything has to go past. So with something like that, how does that work? Because I mean, I did do it in my model that I sent you, well, this model here, but does that have to?
So in order for, if you're doing a cut surface,
Right.
in order for that to happen, this has to come down to the edge of the surface or go past.
Right, okay. But is that part of the top, is that okay? If it?
Oh yes, because the way you've cut it, this is now viewed as a face.
Ah, okay. So, yep,
So-
that makes sense.
So here's the edge and here's the edge.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I figured that out, but I didn't understand why it was doing that. I just realized that it worked when I did that.
Yeah. So that is the control feature. It has to go past you know, before we did this, let me just exit out of here. So this is viewed as one surface
Right.
or one complete face. The moment we, come on. The moment we come down here, it's still considered one surface that has multiple faces.
Okay.
Now, one thing I might want to suggest to you is simplify a little bit. You know, like when you're making a shoe, each piece of leather goes on individually. If this is multiple pieces of leather
Right.
that you're going to thicken, I would do that as an individual piece. So like for this one, you know, I would then come in before doing any of this stuff, I would come in, and if that's going to be one piece of inlay, I would thicken that.
So was I doing that in the wrong like order of operation before? Because initially I was splitting everything into different faces, doing it in surface offset, and then thickening the offset.
Hold on one second. I just want to make sure I save the part
Right. Yeah.
so I can send it to you. So here, let's yeah. So give me a second. So my style is a little less aggressive than your style. But for this, if I'm doing this shoe,
Right. Okay.
I personally would, and this is just to make things a little bit more organized in the file too, is I would do this split surface first,
Right.
and then I would thicken that. Then
So
I
I'm
would,
thinking surface and not a surface offset.
surface offset, surface thicken. I would probably do a thicken because that's going to give me my solid piece.
Right. So that's what I was saying. So, based upon the tutorials that I watched with like very rudimentary
Yep.
footwear, yeah. So they had it so I would split the body. I mean, I split the surface and then do a surface offset and then thicken the surface offset instead of just going straight to thicken.
Oh, yes. No. You're 100% right.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the surface offset. Okay, yeah, you're 100% right. Because you still need this whole undersole thing.
Right. Yeah.
And then the surface offset, you know, or projecting this on there, and then doing the surface offset. But the surface offset should be extremely, like, next to zero.
Yep. That's how I had it.
Okay, awesome.
It was like 4 zeros and then 1.
Yeah.
Zero,
And
zero,
actually, in real life, it should be zero because it's in complete contact.
Right.
But what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't do all of these at once. So like I would do this one, I would build my surface, I would offset the surface, I would project my curves,
Right.
then I would offset the surface, then I would thicken this one.
Right.
Then I would go to this one. I would do this as a separate one. It just makes it more manageable. So is that what you're doing, or because it looks
I
as if you?
I believe so.
What's that?
Could you open
Original one?
the original file? I believe that was what I was doing.
Sorry, and maybe I'm misreading your menu tree, because it looks like to me you split everything, and then you thickened everything, and then you did that. So yeah, so
So
here, where you've got all these split lines, you know, I would try to, I would personally try to simplify it,
Okay.
where I would get the surface and I would do the first split lines, you know, and then do the next ones, where you kind of built all your split lines at once. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's whatever works for you. I would find it more, for me, it would be easier for me to do the surface, the split line, then the offset, then the thicken. And I would then be able to call that, you know, main body. And then I would go and do the next one. Does that
so
make
would
sense?
you suggest so you're just suggesting to do it part by part? So like, um,
That's what I would do.
okay, so does that include the split line? So do I do all the split lines at once, or do I do one split line?
I would do the split lines one by one.
Okay, I see what you
And
mean.
that just for me seems like it would be more manageable. Now, you could try that and you might be like, man, this is more time consuming, this is more aggravating than me just doing it all at once. So it's whatever works for you. Now, let's talk quickly. There was one that you could not get to offset. Was it this
Yes.
one, correct?
Yes.
Or sorry, not offset.
No, yeah, not, I
You
couldn't get it.
to thicken. So what we want to do is we're going to take that and we're going to use a command called isolate. And we're going to get rid of everything else. Okay. Here is the reason. See how this crease happens here?
Yes.
This surface is actually folding under itself. So
That
let
makes
me-
a lot of sense.
Let me
I see.
see. No, I can't do it. So here, let me do this, because this will help you to see it. Because I kind of know what to look for, but if we do this, let me do this. We're gonna do this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw face curves across this surface because it helps me to evaluate it. So you can see how these curves go.
Right.
Well, I want to change that, and I want to look at these face curves here, so we're going to increase the number of those. So that we can show it. Give it a second. See, it's even failing to create those. So you can see what's happening is this surface is folding back on itself. And it's almost pushing through. So what's happening is when it goes to offset, so if we were to look at this as a sketch, we've almost got like a little hook like that.
Right.
So
And it'll be like thickening to itself.
exactly. So it's trying to fold into itself. Now, that may get corrected. Let's exit isolate. Because we saw in the other model that this shape and this form, see this step in here? You can kind of
Right.
see that how that contour line goes. If we look at the other model, that is gone. It's not doing that same thing. So if I was to come and take this, which is kind of the same area, we're
Yep.
gonna go surface, and then you were going with offset.
Offset surface, and then
Where's offset surface?
Do you see fillet? Go, yes, in the middle or next to it, left to the left. To the left box.
There we go.
Yep, there you go.
And we're gonna do a very, very tiny 001. Excellent, and then we'll come over here and we'll go thicken. So now with all those ridges gone, that part will thicken. And if we go back a step, and we'll do the same thing, and we're just going to come in here and we'll isolate it. Hey, why didn't you? It drew all my 3D sketch. Oh, that's right. That's why. You can see that we've lost that fold.
Right.
So that should solve that problem. And that's also, you know, so getting that one main surface is going to solve the other issues that you were seeing in your model too, I think. Where are we here? Like this stuff all in here.
Right, yeah.
So, because what this is we talked about that before. This is, you know, the first surface maybe looked okay, but it wasn't great. But every time you build off of it, that error gets compounded in the next surface. Does that help?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.
And then